morning, guys. If you always wanted to know what life as a professional slackliner would be like, you should watch this episode of How Not to Highline.
Am I in the frame?
Oh, is that my
Yeah,
phone?
you're in the frame. Am I taller than Lucas? No. Cool. I want to be. Am I second in my guys? My gut look okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Am I looking good too?
Yeah, you guys both look amazing.
How's my hair? Paint? No paint on my hands? Okay.
No, nothing. I'm good.
All right, we're good. Now let's act like professionals. Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and welcome to whose phone is that?
I gotta fucking turn this off.
I got it.
Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and welcome to my gear room where professional slackliners sleep when they come visit. So Lukas Irmler here is going to tell us what it is like to be a professional slackliner. What do you do all day?
Well, I guess I slackline most of the day if I'm not sleeping at your couch.
There you
or
go.
Floor.
Freedy had the couch, so Lucas ended up having the studio. But yeah, so what is it like to be a professional slackliner? How do you get paid to walk on ropes? Is it easy? Is it a pain in the ass? What's it like?
Yeah, it's quite a often asked question, like what I do for a living. So I often say I'm a slackliner, so that's my profession these days. It was started out as my passion, but now it's really turned into my profession. But I also made it work. So I put a lot of effort into building this brand, basically, Lukas Irmler. And now I'm able to make a living of it with, on the one side, sponsors, but on the other side, I do a lot of shows, presentations, workshops, courses, and all kinds of things to make a decent living of it.
How many years did you try to build your brand before you made money at slacklining?
It's a tough question. I've been slacklining for 12 years now, and in the beginnings I've never even imagined to, at some extent, make money with that sport. It was like a hobby I did on the side, and then it turned into a sport, into a profession at some point. But I guess I've been doing it more or less professionally for, I would say, 8-9 years now.
Did you do professional sports or sports like professionally before slacklining?
I've never did another sport professionally, so I didn't really have any idea what a professional sportsman would actually do or how a professional athlete would raise a living. So I was basically finding all this out on the run.
Okay. And you make a ton of money off of slackline companies, right?
Exactly, yeah. Like those companies paying me the most are definitely slackline companies. I guess they cannot even afford their own salaries these days. So it's actually not like that, yeah. Slackline companies are giving you gear in best case. I'm very happy that they do give me gear.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else to come from them.
Okay. So where does who pays a professional slackliner? How do you make money at it?
I'm in a very lucky position, I would say, to have gotten into contact with Adidas like many years ago.
Right.
And they've definitely believed in myself and in my dreams, and they supported me since more than 8 years now very solidly.
Okay.
And that is definitely something very special, very rare, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
But that alone definitely doesn't pay my bills.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely earn most of my money doing shows, events, these days a lot of presentations as well, often in companies, speaking to executives or CEOs about what I do every day, how I deal with my risks, and how I mitigate.
How many jobs turn into money that contact you and are interested, or that you contact them?
You know, you gotta imagine, like, life as a professional slackliner is mostly sitting behind the computer and, like, being in contact with potential customers. So most of those potential customers don't even turn out to be customers in the end. So I would say like 90% of the projects or jobs I'm working on, they don't actually ever get reality. So most of my work I do for nothing, and very little of my work I do for what I get for a living.
Interesting. We also are experiencing that with people who show interest in what Kim's doing, and she's trying to get jobs, and we're going through the same thing. And it's interesting to hear that somebody who's been in it for so long also experiences like a significant number of interests never turn into $1. How many shows do you do a year?
It varies a lot how many shows I do. It has become significantly less shows, but bigger shows.
Okay.
So the last couple of years probably been around like 4 or 5 shows maximum a year,
Okay.
but decently paid jobs.
Okay. Do those jobs generate referrals, or do you have to hustle every single one?
Well, sometimes you get referred from one job to the other, but that is still a very rare occasion. So most of the time, you're just also gonna be actively out there, like position yourself, and also tell people that you do shows. Every time I meet anyone who's might be interested in doing a show, I'll just tell them I'm a Slackliner. I'm doing it for shows as well, and if they ever get an occasion to invite me, I'll be happy to do that.
Do you see yourself slacklining in 5 years from now professionally? And how do you think it'll get easier to get jobs? Do you think the sport will grow, or do you think other slackliners, because they're so eager to be professional slackliners doing gigs for free, kind of water down what you can get for work?
Yeah, I guess life as a professional slackliner did not actually get any easier in the last years because there's a significant amount of slackliners with a very, very good skill level these days.
Yeah.
So in order to still get the jobs you actually need to make your living, of course you need to be decent slacklining, but you also
Yeah.
need to be very active and you need to be also fighting for the jobs you actually want. And I think part of my job will also be to teach like the younger generation how they actually should make jobs and how they should engage in jobs because if too many people are doing shows and stuff for too little money, then at the end of it, like no one will be able to live of it.
Yeah. I've heard of that. Also with slackline gear, if people are not counting their time and the costs, it makes it really hard for the other slackline companies to make money because the water's down. If you don't know, I paint houses for a living, and sometimes when people don't have licenses and insurance, it's really hard to compete with them when they're charging half the price I am. So what is your favorite slackline job? Like if you had like the perfect job, not necessarily pay, but let's say this one job would pay well, what's your favorite kind of gig?
My favorite kind of gig is probably a combination of a slackline performance in front of people, followed up by a presentation about what I actually do in the mountains and in whatever environment I normally put myself into. So I think it's very cool to show people live what you do, so they can really kind of touch it and feel it, what
Mm-hmm.
slacklining is like. Best case is even if they can try it themselves.
Yeah.
And then you show them pictures and videos of the projects and the extreme expeditions we do afterwards, and they can appreciate it much more.
Yeah, I've noticed that. We got to do a job with Andy once, and we got to put people on Slack racks, and it's really interesting to see when people engage how much more they appreciate what you're doing,
Absolutely.
because like the circus kind of dilutes what you're able to do, because what you're able to do is really awesome, but people are just so used to seeing unique things. It's really cool when they can try it.
Obviously, when you're good at something, you make it look easy.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have the reference of someone new trying it and seeing that it's actually not that easy to do.
Yeah, he should have me go first.
Well, it's okay, Slacker.
Or barely can highline. So how has doing professional projects changed the way you do projects? Because I pick projects that are artful, meaningful to me, something I want to do. Is there a positive and negative effect on your projects because you're being paid to do them?
Yeah, first of all, I very rarely or seldomly get actually paid for projects. So
Okay.
most of the time, you get money to pay for the project, but
Yeah.
you don't really earn money doing the project. But that being aside, the sponsorship or like the engagement of brands definitely has changed the way I view projects because you want to look at projects in a way where it is also valuable to the outside world, where it also creates like an image or a video which is going to be perceived in a very positive and emotional way from the general public. So you probably want to choose spots which are very popular and which are very impressive naturally. And that happily goes together pretty well with what my inner desires are because I
Mm-hmm.
want to choose spots which are very aesthetic, which are very hard to reach sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
which are pretty prominent. So speaking about that, it's pretty good fit I would say between my own wishes and what sponsors seek you to do. But obviously sometimes the way you have to do projects differs from the way I would do them on my own. Because you have a camera team on board, you have also like media interest in the project. So you are not completely free in the way you do the project. But that's a small price to pay, I would say, for getting to do this project in the first place.
Yeah, we would love to do some. I'd say we call them urban highlines, but just projects you would never get to do otherwise
Yes.
without some big money behind it. Uh, do you feel like the big highlines you do are relatable, or do you think people cannot conceive, and most people don't even know what 2.8 kilometers is, that they kind of lose how rad that is, and only us slackliners can really appreciate it?
I guess lately, especially length has gone to pretty crazy dimensions, and it's very hard to like convey 2.8 kilometers to a person. As it was already hard to like convey 800 meters, you could say
Yeah.
it's like 8 football fields in a row, but like 28 football fields in a row sounded pretty awkward. Um, I don't know. It's like it is very long, and people perceive it to be very long, and it's still our challenge to communicate that. But I'm not sure if length or height are like really the differentiating factors. I guess it's a lot about the beauty of what you do. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot about what else you have to put into the project to actually get to slackline. So on most of my projects, I spend like 99% of my time getting to the slackline, rigging it, and like making everything possible to have this 1% of walking time.
Yeah. I can't, the 2,800 meter line is crazy because we just did the 960 footer at Taft, and it just took me fucking forever to get to the other side. I definitely don't think I'm ready to cross something longer than a kilometer yet. So I feel like it's really amazing when you do those big projects, but I find sometimes the 30-meter lines sometimes over certain places can impress people way more because they can like at least comprehend what you're doing. Um, do you ever take your leash off?
Yeah, free soloing is a pretty hot topic these days in slacklining, I guess. It is a thing I have thought about a lot. It is a thing I have obviously tried myself, but it is something I settled to not do anymore for me.
Okay.
Because there's part of the thing is just doesn't like fulfill me in a way I really want to do it, like in the long run.
Okay.
But I guess the biggest factor is just that I feel a certain responsibility of how I present the sport to a wider audience. And I love to present slacklining as a 100% safe sport because it is partly an extreme sport because you get to live through extreme experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you are very safe. You're the same safety as sport climbers are, or like something like
Safer.
that. Even
Sometimes.
even safer, yeah. You have a double redundant system, so
Yeah.
actually nothing can go wrong if you rig correctly. But
Yeah.
still, you get to be out in space and experience something pretty crazy and fulfilling. So I don't see a reason to take the leash off for myself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why take something super safe and make it super unsafe? So, even though you're young and fit now, you won't. Oh, you'll eventually get to my status, and not be able to slackline anymore. Like it's not a forever thing. So, how does that work for you in 5 or 10 years? How do you transition into what some people dread as a real job?
Yeah, I've been struggling with the real job for quite some time because I mean, I actually got like 2 college degrees, so
Okay.
I have plenty of opportunity to work in a real job.
One in slacklining and one in highlining?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I've still like successfully managed to not do this. No,
What are your degrees in?
I have a degree in chemistry and another one in economics.
Cool.
Yeah, but I've still managed to not do anything with those, which is pretty good. I consider it successful.
Slackcess.
Yeah, successful for sure. So yeah, no, I definitely. It has been a wild ride because if you had asked me the same question like 5 years before today, I would have probably said in 5 years I would be already sitting at a desk and like writing emails and being a regular accountant. I don't know, because I didn't perceive slacklining to be such a long-term hype because
Yeah.
it is still hyping and it is still growing and it is still we are still able to find fascinating ways to change the sport every day. And this is something I definitely did not anticipate like 5 years ago. So I honestly cannot answer the question what I'll be doing in 5 years. And it's kind of a cool feeling to not be able to do this because this sport has developed in such crazy ways that I definitely see a lot of potential left. And I'm really curious to find out what's going to happen.
Do you think the hype will continue to grow, or do you think it'll plateau at some point?
I mean, eventually it will plateau, as everything will plateau at some point. But for now, I still see so many new options and so many new directions the sport is developing into that it's, for me personally at least, not at all stalling or something. It is still growing, it is still developing, and it's still super interesting and fun.
Yeah, I notice it just through my audience, and when you guys message me, just how many people are just learning about the sport, still excited about the sport. I definitely see it growing substantially.
Yeah, not the least because of the videos you're doing.
Well, the videos I'm sure help some people. It's fun to make them, but hopefully in 5 years I can be a professional YouTuber. Not there yet. I spend too much money on Slack for that. So, well, thank you for sharing what it's like to be a professional slackliner, how not to be a professional slackliner. So don't try and go out and do your own Slack jobs, at least for free.
Keep the jobs for me, please.
Yeah, send them to him. No, but like really value yourself if you are going to do a performance, and that way it doesn't dilute the value of people trying to make a living at this. So thank you so much. And what can you think of a reason not to highline?
I can't think of any reason not to highline.
You might turn it into a job. Therefore, you shouldn't highline.